Liverpool. The reverse fixture was the opening game of the season, a 6-goal match that went Liverpool's way. Now, ahead of this one, let's hear from both managers, starting with Arne.
I think probably, unluckily for us, we are going to face the best Liverpool of the season. They are coming, I think it's 13 games without a loss. The other day against Marseille, they won 3-0, but they could even won easier. They were so good. And I expect the best Liverpool because they are playing for me very well. They had this period months ago where they had these losses that probably affects the overall picture of the season. But for me right now, if not the best, is one of the best teams.
We have to adapt again, and every time we try to find a new way of getting the best out of this team, and sometimes that works better than other times. But I can assure you that we're already in a good place, but this team, this club, will be in a better place the day after tomorrow. Tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after.
We'll get into the defending champions in just a moment, but let's start with Arne's side, because they had such a flying start, surprising many, or even continuing what we saw from last season, but then they seem to have fallen off. In fact, you look at their last few results, and it doesn't make for good reading at all. Just the one win in that period of time coming against a very I'd say lack-ridden side in Spurs, who are lacking in confidence. But it's 30 goals in their last 13. Is it just down to the fact that they're losing so many quality players, Julian?
I think injuries haven't helped for sure. And you mentioned that Spurs win. It was at the last minute, and that Semenyo shot of not much really that won them the game. There's other games where they lost or drew when they were playing actually quite well. But when it's a team that is based so much on their own pressing to recover the ball as high as possible on the pitch, if that press is not efficient, then you find yourself exposed defensively, a few mistakes, a bit of bad luck at times, because not so much on this goal, but the Brentford goal that we saw earlier where the ball bounces everywhere like a pinball. It's not really helping. But you see that's too easy from Madueke on the right-hand side against Semenyo, for example. The ball falls for Gabriel. And again, it's the team that presses the best in the whole of the league, the most aggressively. So if that doesn't work and you can beat that press, you with the ball, after that, it's very difficult for them to recover and defend.
But we do have to talk about the departures, the most recent of that being someone who was considered a talisman for them in Antoine Semenyo.
Yeah.
How much of a loss is that, especially in the middle of the season?
Of course, always going to be a loss. I think his goals and assists. You speak about the first game of the season, and the penalty against Liverpool, I thought he was the best player on the pitch. I was actually at the game. But not just him. The list there, it's unbelievable. But Bournemouth have been a club that sells players.
Yeah, a feeder club, they call it.
We know that anyway. Players go there, no disrespect to that, but players go there, do well, and they go to the bigger clubs. But obviously, with Antoine Semenyo, it's hard to replace players like that because what he brought, his sort of quality, the goals and assists, like I just mentioned.
You say it's hard to replace him, but someone who is really stepping up to the mark is 19-year-old Eli Krupi. He has done fantastically. 7 goals to his name, only 3 fewer than Antoine Semenyo. Yeah. Talk to us about him, Julian.
He's a wonderful talent. His dad was a really good player to start with, so he's probably in the DNA, in the family. 19, he's still to this day the youngest player in French football to score the brace in the league. He's got that pace, he's very good technically. You saw that the quality of his first touch and then the finish with his weaker foot in a way. This against Arsenal was brilliant. He's got everything, and he's still only 19, as we said. He's only a France under-21 international, but soon to be with the A team, because there's too much talent there and potential for him not to keep going like this and better.
Yeah, and
it reminds me of a young German Defoe, to be fair.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get your thoughts.
Do you know what? Of all the goals we've just seen there, he scores all sorts of goals. He's calm in front of goals. He scores from distance. He's only 19. So efficient in the final third.
And confident.
Confident, yeah. That he's got football personality, and I like that. But the goal against Tottenham, the last goal there, he makes it look so easy because that's a difficult chance. And you see a lot of players, you snatch and it goes over the bar. To stay so relaxed with that sort of conviction, he's got such huge potential.
We spoke about the reverse fixture between these two sides and just the trouble, I'd say, that Bournemouth caused Liverpool. Looking at someone like Krupi, how much of a headache could he cause Liverpool's centre-backs?
I think he can cause anyone.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the best version of this young player can cause anyone problems. Yeah. Liverpool know. They know that. I think when he gets the chances, He shoots on sight. You know, he takes the chance. Sometimes you see players and, you know, they take an extra touch or they want to chop and then the whole picture's gone. It's the Premier League. But, you know, when there's opportunities for him to shoot, he shoots, and I love that.
I think we expect him to probably play on the left hand. So Evan Nilsson would be the number 9, I think.
Yeah.
And I think Eli can play behind him as a second striker almost.
Yeah.
He can play on the right or on the left. In the last game, he played on the left-hand side, which for him, I don't think changes much. OK, he's further away from the goal. This is easy to understand. But because his movement is smart, because he's such a smart player, he will get into the right positions and the right pockets to still influence the game. I think he's a great asset to have for Iraola, and he's still young and got those fresh legs and runs and presses again to go back to the identity of this team. So I can't wait to see him, because those 7 goals have come in many games where he was not starting, but just coming off the bench, because Evan Nilsson was there. Through the injury, he started, and now I think he's going to play more from the start, with or without Evan Nilsson, up front or wider, and I can't wait to see his development in the next few games.
Let's turn our attention then to the defending champions, Liverpool. They go into this game after a resounding win against Liga side Marseille, winning 3-0, almost like the Liverpool of old. They have a 57% better win rate in Europe than in the Premier League. What do you think is, again, not translating there, that we're seeing these Premier League sides struggle more domestically?
I was at the game in Marseille on Wednesday night. I thought Marseille made it far too easy and comfortable for Liverpool anyway. So the aggressive side of the Premier League and the intensity and that rhythm, often it's not there in Europe, especially against a team like Liverpool, and certainly in the case of this Marseille game. I like the way they set up with Mo Salah back now from AFCON and starting straight away after missing 5 weeks of action. Him and Ekitike slightly wide out of position, and then that box with the 4 midfielders behind them, Wirtz and McAllister, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai. It's not new. Slot did it last season. I remember the game at Spurs where, sorry to bring back bad memories, but they smashed Spurs really in that system. Was very effective. I'm still not sure if Mo Salah right now deserves to be a starter for this team, ahead of Gakpo, ahead of Curtis Jones, but it clearly worked on Wednesday.
Where do you stand on whether Mo Salah should be starting, JD?
It's a difficult one. I mean, he's not produced, is he? He's not been the Mo Salah that we've seen over the years. You know, but listen, I think he's got credit in the bank for what he's done for the football club. You know, he's an icon, he's a legend. But what do they say in football? You know, you're only as good as your last game. I think Wirtz now, you know, he's sort of like looks sharp now. Ekitike, I think he's unbelievable. For me, he was the one that really excited me. But I don't think he'll come straight. Even Gakpo, you know, the best version of Gakpo, you know, is a handful, scores goals. I don't think he'll come straight back into the team, if I'm being honest.
OK, well, big decision for Slot.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I mentioned that their results in the Premier League haven't been what maybe their fans would like, but they are unbeaten in 13. The big news coming from the club, though, is that someone who's been such a serviceman to them may be on his way out, and Andy Robertson. He's been linked with a move to Spurs. When you look at the reduced game time, it's probably not a surprise, is it, Jules?
No, especially in the World Cup here. He has to play with Scotland, especially qualifying for the first World Cup since 1998. He can't really arrive at the World Cup with having played just a few minutes there and there. And I don't think he can be happy with that. So I think the move was always something that he had in the back of his mind for this transfer window. Yeah. I think Tottenham, if he ends up at Tottenham, would be great for him. He would be great for Spurs in terms of the experience and what he can bring to this team, the mentality and the leadership as well. And it would be a shame because he had obviously an incredible tenure at Liverpool, winning everything. It was a wonderful left back for them. I just wanted to say a little thing for the Konate family as well. It's been a very sad week, obviously, with Ibrahima father passing away. So, you know, everybody at the Premier League and at PLP sends our regards.
Definitely thinking of you, Ibrahima Konate, and your family. In terms of Liverpool, though, you mentioned that. I wanted to go back to that. Do you feel that things are starting to click with him? We always talk about players needing grace when they come to the Premier League because of the intensity that we play with. It's just not comparable across Europe.
No, it's not. And there's a lot of pressure, big fee, young player, come with, a lot of expectation.
And a huge,
of course. But I think when you're, well, that's a number 9 or number 10, like a forward player, you know, you get judged on goals and assists. And I think once you're scoring goals and you're assisting, you know, you feel confident and you look forward to the next game. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. It's a confidence thing. But there was always signs there. You know, we always knew at some point it'll come good because he's a top player. And I listened to Steven Gerrard say something in the week, and Stevie said, no, this guy's going to be a special player for Liverpool Football Club in the future.
Is there anyone else that we should be giving time at Liverpool of the new arrivals?
And I think that goes back also to the Salah discussion, which is a fascinating discussion because this team was for so many years based on Mo Salah and built around Mo Salah. Now with Ekitike and Wirtz and the partnership that they are starting to build, we saw a couple of goals where Ekitike was the provider, Wirtz the finisher, the other way around is true. And I think this team now is not Mo Salah's team anymore. It's Ekitike and Wirtz team far more than the Mo Salah team. And I think them two are just so good and so young still that Liverpool potentially have one of the best front two in Europe for years to come.
OK, well, all they need to do is get Champions League football for next season and no one will question them or Slot.
Arne Slot has expressed his frustration at the low block defending and time wasting he feels his team are frequently up against. Join the queue. However, Steven Gerrard says it's time for the title-winning coach to stop mentioning it because it's something big clubs have always had to handle.
Maybe I can try to convince Steven to get a comeback to help us out in those games because a 30-yard strike could definitely unlock a low block as well. No, but I agree with him. It's a lot is being said about it, and maybe I should try to find other words or just simply not talk about it anymore because it makes no sense. People know now, and we go on, and maybe we don't face it anymore. That's also a possibility because tomorrow, I think Bournemouth has always been a very intense team to play against, and they will be like that tomorrow as well.
It's an interesting one there. I mean, I know exactly, what Steven Gerrard meant, and it's great to see that Arne has kind of come forward and said, look, maybe he was right. Do you think, Alan, how difficult is it for a manager to have that balance of honesty with the media? Because there must be so many times where you want to tell the fans everything.
Well, we've had some, major moments this season, particularly with Maresca and Glasner and of course last week, where you can say too much in a press conference. And a press conference is always feeding you. They're always trying to push you to say something controversial. They'll mention all sorts of stuff to kind of move you to a subject you don't really want to get on. But, coming back to this subject, low block, I mean, at Liverpool, what else are you going to do? What else do you expect to get, I mean, I've been there so many times with teams and your first thought is to be solid. You're not going to let anybody have any room. So I don't really sympathise with him on that. I think Liverpool are just in a strange place. They've picked up recently. They're kind of finding their self again. I think they've got a good chance of the Champions League, actually, something to focus on for them. But obviously, the league has gone.
I think defensively they look tighter. From where they were in that kind of, I guess Christmas kind of period, they do look a little bit better. But Lee, what do you think they're still lacking?
I think I look at them last season of where I think they always found an outlet. Every time I've always watched Liverpool is that sort of forward area has always been key for me, is that they've turned teams over, they've scored lots of goals. Mo Salah was, unbelievable and still is unbelievable at doing so. But yeah, I do feel that they've missed something in that forward area this season, is that, they've been very reliant on Mo Salah, Diaz obviously leaving the club, and you've got Núñez even, something different, but I just feel that in that forward area, that's where they've really pushed teams to the maximum. And obviously
they did make the biggest record signing. They did bring in Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz.
But it hasn't worked yet, has it? I mean, Isak, listen,
he's been unlucky with
injuries. He has been unlucky.
Back.
But yeah. I thought, him going into the football club was going to be the key thing for them. I thought that's it. Liverpool will go and win the league. It wasn't to be. It took time for him to find his feet, to get himself fit, and then he's injured, which is an absolute, disappointment for Liverpool.
That's the great thing about the Premier League, though, isn't it? You can have the biggest transfer winner in terms of a net spend. That doesn't guarantee you success.
Yeah. I mean, but on Florian Wirtz, do we think that he's starting to adapt to the Premier League a little bit more? Because it does look like he's got more of that cohesion, I guess, where he's situated on the pitch with his teammates.
Yeah, I obviously, for the fee, that you'd expect that at some point, for him to sort of kick into some sort of form. I mean, at the start of the season, he really was poor. He was really struggling with the with the speed and the tenacity that is in the midfield of any Premier League team. And to find space and to turn, he was getting caught in possession so many times. So I think he's speeded his game up a little bit. Yeah. I still think he hasn't really created moments like Robbie Fowler or Kenny Dalglish. I haven't sort of seen turn on the telly on a Saturday night or a Sunday at Sky to see him curling one in the top corner and I'm going, wow, that's something different. He's been okay. That's no more than that.
He's not been that spark of chances that I guess they wanted. But I guess now, though, Mo Salah, he's back from AFCON. Guaranteed starter for you, would you say?
Yes, for me, Mo Salah, yeah. And I think, you know, like all great players, they have a downturn. And if you think leaving out a great player like Mo Salah isn't going to cause problems in the dressing room, 100% it is, right? So, you know, that comes with the territory. Yeah. But I think, you know, over a nice cup of coffee and a nice meal or two together with a manager, they'll build some bridges.
I think with him going away to AFCON as well and coming back, I just think it just revitalises everything. I think it's a really good time for him to come back and maybe turn Liverpool's fortunes.